Welcome to Dead Talk, the podcast where we dissect one Grateful Dead song at a time. Join me as we explore the history, meaning, and musical composition of their classic tracks. Whether you're a longtime Deadhead or curious newcomer, there's always something new to discover about the music of the Dead. So sit back, relax, and let's dive deep into the world of the Grateful Dead. Welcome to another episode of Dead Talk, your getaway into the timeless universe of the Grateful Dead. I'm your host, Noah Smith. Today, I am thrilled and honored to be joined by a very special guest whose rhythmic brilliance and unwavering dedication to the Grateful Dead's legacy have made him an iconic figure in the world of tribute bands in St. Louis, Missouri. For nearly 2 decades now, he has been the driving force behind one of the most respected Grateful Dead cover bands to have ever graced the stage. As the mastermind behind the drum kit and the heartbeat of Jake's Leg, he has transported audiences on a magical journey through the music that continues to unite generations. Throughout his adventure with Jake's Leg since 2005, he has perfected the art of infusing new life into classic Dead tunes, mesmerizing crowds with his exponential skill and infectious energy. His passion for the Grateful Dead's music shines through every beat, keeping the spirit of the Dead alive. Without further ado, let us welcome the remarkable and celebrated Ryan Wilhite of Jake's Leg.
Thank you for having me, Noah.
Hell yeah.
And thank you for that overly kind introduction. I'm blushing.
Did I get your last name right? Wilhite?
Wilhite, yes.
Wilhite,
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wilhite.
Yeah, a little German here.
That's a cool last name. Well, thank you so much, man, for being here. You're actually my first guest that I'm not like really good friends with. So it's
a pleasure
feels
to meet you
a little
guys,
bit more real to me now that I'm here hanging out with the drummer of Jake's Leg. It's pretty cool in my house.
Oh, I'm flattered you think that way. I've definitely seen you and your brother out at many of Jake's Leg shows, so thanks for coming out and supporting the band.
Yeah, of course. We've been seeing the band since probably like 2016 was the first time I've seen you guys.
Awesome, yeah.
I just got off Dead & Company tour that summer, and you were one of the first shows I saw back in St. Louis and keeping the spirit alive. And it was my first exposure to the Grateful Dead scene here in St. Louis, and now it kind of fixed my tour blues because I was like, I'd just stay here, you know.
Well, you picked a good outlet for it. Jake's Legs always has been, and it was an outlet for myself when I was young to come out and see bands, you know, and up until the time from 14, 15 years old to 20, till the time I got in the band, I was going out to see Jake's Leg shows.
Wow. How did that feel, just being part of the band that you go and see? It's like very few people, I feel like, get that experience.
My best friends in the planet, they never talk to me about it because I've always played music and pursued music because it's just always been a part of our lives. And then everybody else I meet asks me that question, and I really don't have an answer for it. But besides that, when you want to play, you are always hunting for an opportunity. And I was lucky enough to meet the right guys, right timing for me to come into the band. It's a little bit of luck, but it's also a lot of hard work to navigate and meet a lot of good guys that will give you that opportunity to play. It was real super special, put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you playing Grateful Dead music before you were in Jake's Leg? Were you kind of in the scene?
You know, we
like
played
more of like a...
Yeah, I mean, cover bands, original band for a while.
Cool.
Right before I was in Jake's League, I was with the band from Springfield, Missouri. Springfield, Illinois. I said that earlier. Called The Station, and we were like a prog rock jam band, kind of Mo or Humphreys McGee type of sounding. I was actually playing percussion. It was my first gig, not playing drum set, and I bought all this percussion and cut 3 albums with these guys. And at the same time, I got some opportunity to come play percussion with Jake's Leg when I was off from that band. And that's kind of spawned and broadened my friendship with them, which ended up being one of the big reasons why I got in the band was because of that time I spent with them, playing percussion with them. So,
wow.
That was like 2002 to 2005 or something like that. Yesteryear.
Okay. And you've been playing with them full time since 2005?
2005, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was actually just my anniversary just 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
18
Happy
years.
anniversary.
Yeah, yeah. There was my first show with them was Fair St. Louis for the 4th of July.
Nice.
Yeah, it was what a way to start it out. But that's kind of how I feel about Jake's Leg. We're really just part of St. Louis, and
yeah, for sure.
Meet and see people that are their first show, 10th show, their 20th show. They've been following us for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You know, we've even had some guys that come out have been around the band for for 40 years now that live here locally. And I was just in San Francisco in April for the Fish shows, and I ran into 5 different Jake's Leg people at the Greek Theater.
Oh wow!
I know. It's the band's been here for so long. Well, the band's been here for so long. It touches so many different people. 18 years I look at as my OG Jake's Leggers, I call it, are this crew of people that I met in 2005 that were just getting out of college and were seeing Jake's Leg a bunch, and they still come see Jake's Leg, and they're my oldest people that I know from coming out from playing in the band. So it's
wow, how special to build a relationship like that.
They all have like 4 kids now, and they're all graduated, obviously. Yeah. They bring all their kids out for their first shows. One of them, my friend from Illinois, his daughter's up to over 200 Jake's Leg shows.
Wow.
He comes out with a little sign. It's just always been a fun outlet for people around here to come out and experience that improv, jam, Grateful Dead music. I'm super proud to keep it going around here. Put it that way.
Hell yeah. Well, I will be watching you guys keeping it going on Saturday night at the Jefferson Barracks Amphitheater at 7-ish o'clock, something like that. Well. Yeah. And what date is that?
That's the 29th.
The 29th.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday the 29th. I'm going to do everything I can to edit this and get it out in the world before the weekend, just to be up with the times.
Much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. So you came over here to talk about a specific Grateful Dead song. Would you mind sharing with Jake, I guess, what song you're talking about and why you picked this song out of all the 100 Grateful Dead songs you could have sat here and talked about with me?
Great question. Bird Song, obviously originally composed by Jerry himself and recorded solo, by Jerry, picked up by the Grateful Dead in, you said, 72?
71 they started playing.
Yeah. Then the hiatus through the Gotchow years, and then they brought it back
in
out.
73. The 73 to 80 they did not play it.
Yep, that's pretty much all the Gotchow years. Midland gets in the band. He says, "Let's play Birdsong again." I guess I don't know. But Brent Midland, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the reason why I chose Birdsong, obviously, I'm a huge Jerry Garcia band fan. But since I've moved to St. Louis, I've been studying swing, shuffle. I mean, this town is one of the big homes of the blues. I spent the first 10 years at least down at BB's Jazz Blues and Soups downtown. On a 5-day night, you could see bands from all over the country playing different types of shuffles, from Texas to Chicago. Different types of swing equals different kinds of inspiration for me. So that, along with obviously a halftime shuffle fan from Bernard Purdy, which if you're not familiar, he wrote the backbeat for Babylon Sisters, was the big one, which inspired Bonham's "Fool in the Rain" take on it. So Birdsong does that for me. Birdsong allows me to adapt in a lot of that shuffle inspiration that I've gained from being around St. Louis, and create my own little bit of a take on it. So I put it in halftime.
All right, and it's fun for you to play, and that's why you want to stick it in Birdsong.
It's it kind of just fell in there one night, I think, and I was so stuck on learning halftime shuffle, 10 years ago, that's all I warmed up with. That's how so every time I was warming up before the show, I was playing triplets, and then it started just kind of like gradually becoming part of more of my style, more of my influence on my take. And then when I did it in Birdsong, it really opened up the song for dynamics. I felt it brought the song back in tempo, and it just created a whole nother feel for it for me. You can play it in straight, straight time, straight swing or shuffle beat, but it's when you put the halftime shuffle in there, it might not be everybody's taste, but it's inspiring to me to be able to apply kind of my own take on a different type of beat to Grateful Dead music.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I feel like Birdsong kind of insinuates, that you're free to kind of create your own space for it, and like it's just such an open-ended song that you can add a shuffle or like a 15-minute solo and it not sound out of place,
Yeah, that's good jazz,
yeah, that's always fair. Yeah.
Keeps it interesting. Developing feel for shuffles is, for me, I'm very unskilled as far as like I never took lessons, or I just really hashed it out in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways was by just listening and studying a ton of drummers, watching them play live, and listening to them play live more than like looking for their written music to play note for note. And that kind of brought into being able to draw from it instead of, just kind of regurgitate it, So I'm really rough around the edges, put it that way. When I talk to other drummers, as far as like knowing what I'm playing, it's just really a lot of feel.
Yeah, really just intuitive with I guess the conversation you guys that you're playing with.
It's
like the musical conversation, I guess.
The best way I can describe improving with bands or drummers, with drums is a support unit. Like with Jake's Leg, we're best friends. We want each other to succeed, so we listen to each other on another level of intensity. So I nicknamed this a listening experiment, because it's how well you can listen is when we're playing together, and we always let each other know how well we're listening to each other by repeating a lick or an intro or something like that, where we'll pop each other's eyes to each other, or we'll get the smiles, going. Those are the moments that we're so intensely listening to each other. It's a support unit. We want everybody to succeed, on stage, because we're good friends and we love playing with each other. So when you get that kind of chemistry, the improv can really, really take off organically, because there's no BS involved. It's either there or it's not. And when it's not there for us, we don't ever try to force it. If the show was short that night in Birdsong, it's because it was uninspiring to us. I mean, there's no other way. We're not going to put it 15 minutes for.
If you're feeling it, you'll keep going. But if you guys aren't feeling it,
no, then we move on. We keep it honest. I think that generates good appeal. That's why I think people stay turned on to Jake's Leg, is because we keep it real like that. We mess it up. We're not perfect. We try to play a different show every time we play. Keeping it real.
Yeah, and I'm sure the chemistry in the group mind with the improvising really helps for like how long you've been playing with the same guys, right? There's been a lot of like changes within the members of Jake's Leg, right? But not too recently, right?
Well, let's see here. Not in. So I've been in band 18, and then the nearest guy with that would be 32 years. So the only change that's happened has been in 18 years since I've been in, and then you go back,
so it's been the same.
Then you go back 18 minus 32,
for 18 years. Yeah, that's a lot of time spent together on stage to kind of grow a relationship.
You get a different feel with the guys from Jake's Leg, because they're very expected upon doing your job. We come and we show up and we're always try to do our best. But that's the only thing we've ever thought about it or ever acknowledged. And we're hella critics to each other as far as like when we come off the stage, we could have a bummer night and then we get people come up and tell us that it was the greatest show. They've seen us for a while and we're just like really hard on ourselves a lot. And I think that keeps us, we try to keep the music above par, and as long as we can keep that above par, then we'll stay playing right now. So it's still above par for us.
Yeah,
as far as
above
delivery.
Par for me too. Not that in my opinion means literally anything to anybody.
It sounds dramatic to talk about it, but it's when you spend this 20 years whacking it with some guys, it just becomes a little bit broader of a conversation on. You can really address how you're playing because it's been so long. Are we really doing it good? Are satisfying ourselves enough? So we're really playing with the schedule lately. That's been helping out a lot. So
yeah, it sounds like it. And you kind of have like the best seat in the house as far as the conversation goes. You don't really get your melodies mixed up with the other strings. I'm sure it can get kind of tricky. So you can kind of maybe be a little bit more like delegate or something.
I try to, I've been, put it this way, I've been really lucky for the lead roles that I've been given in the band to take it certain places. I respect it, but I'm not the only one doing it, like that, best seat in the house, absolutely. I got Dave Casper on my right. I got Joe Trunco on my left. I mean, it's like this 3-piece thing that we can get going with different types of arrangements. It's a lot of fun it just creates a. It's been going on for a long time for that. We were reading each other's minds almost sometimes. Kind of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So compared to I guess like Jake's Leg and the Grateful Dead, do you feel a certain does it influence how you play at all that the Dead had 2 drummers and you're kind of playing the role of 4 arms? Because there's only one drummer, right? And
yeah,
it's you.
Yeah, absolutely. When I like 80s Dead, as I was speaking of, and Mickey was really prominent on his toms, and the way they mixed the band too, they had the bass kind of drawn back, in a way that the toms were up front. The toms become kind of like more of a bass line. What Mickey was doing was a lot of bass line runs with these toms, more or less, where Phil was staying up high at times. So it was just really probably not spoken about, arrangements, what they're doing. But what it did for me is I approach it as my right hand's Mickey and my left hand is Kreutzmann. Kreutzmann has been in the band since day one and provided the backbeat for the tracks from start to finish. Mickey was always an accent drummer, so that's always the right hand. So I work in a lot of toms. I'm very busy back there, more busy than I should be at times. But I believe in those accents. I believe in Mickey's beats, and it's come from that listening through the 80s. He was just big on the toms, the big drum rolls before like the coming back in on Jack Straw to the big, stuff he did on Not Fade Away, just huge, big tom fills. I mean, Rob, my buddy, Koritz from Dark Star, he's a master. He's showed me, not like actually showed me, but by playing him, like I've listened to some of his Mickeys I've taken from him, Okay. So it's a both, right hand Mickey, a left hand Kreutzmann is kind of the approach, but a lot of the time it's just a single drummer sound that I'm going for. But sometimes I'm looking for that 2 drummer sound. Yeah.
What about Birdsong? Do you go for the 2 drummer sound for Birdsong?
It depends. The version that we're talking about tonight is a single drummer version.
Yeah.
A little bit more upbeat version would be the double drum version where there's a lot of toms involved in the beat throughout the whole song.
Yeah.
This one is mainly just the shuffle. And then the accents for the toms come on, pretty much the changes to the chorus and bridges. So.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So do you have, this is kind of like a 2-part question. Do you have like a specific Bird song that stands out to you? One, like a recording that you listen to of the Dead then two, like maybe a show that you've personally played where you look back on your career with Jake's Leg and you're like, man, that bird song that one time was really good.
You know, this is going to be a very spoiled two answers that I couldn't name a bird song, honestly, that would be accurate. I've listened to so many of them. I've found a lot of them inspirational. Mainly when I'm searching through them, it's probably the best answer is I'm searching for tempos, where I like the tempo of it. And when I find those, I try to find a bunch of different versions of the song that I'm working on, just for the tempo feel of it. And then once I find the tempo feel that I like out of all those versions, I might be stuck on that one version that has the tempo I like, or not. You know, as far as with Jake's Leg, I really like anytime that we play birdsong coming out of something. It's really dramatic, whether we're coming out of like a big Uncle John's jam or a plain jam, or it could be anything coming out of, you know, anything that kind of fades out, fuzzes out, dynamic, gets really sloppy, and then can kind of pick up with the you know, kind of rolling slop into that shuffle. So that's
nice.
probably, so it's kind of my. That's kind of how I look with Jake's Leg is I'm a fan of that certain applications of the music more than like one certain version that we played standing out. It's how we adapt it to the set list that night probably would stand out more than the version. Because they're always different with Jake's Leg. I give it that. You know, I might play the shuffle beat one night. I might play a combination of the shuffle beat and the straight beat, a combination of all three with the toms, with the swing, with the halftime feel.
What determines which route you go? Is it like the crowd energy or like your band's energy or like
pretty much
you getting bored of the other way you were doing it or something?
Tempo, inspiration in general for what, you know, in the moment. A lot of it has to do with tempo. If the tempo is too quick, then the toms don't belong, you know.
Yeah.
It just sounds too busy.
Do you get to delegate the tempo or
No.
do they come to you and they're like, hey, let's do it slow this time, or do you just kind of feel it depending on what you're coming from?
I think the conversation for tempo with Jake's only happens when it's wrong for all of us. That's about the only time we talk about tempo. Pretty much how somebody starts out the song keeps it in the moment. It's how they feel and not how we feel. But since they took the lead on the tempo, we're going to support it, you know, and play it that way. You know,
it's like you're saying yes to your scene partner, your stage partner.
We get together. You know, we're actually getting together this week to go through a few of the songs that we haven't played in a while for this weekend.
Yes. So you guys still have rehearsals?
I like to call them that, you know, but they're really broken, you know, because I play on a practice pad, you know, acoustic guitars. We have a piano, and at our bass player's, you know, basement, and he's got a little studio in his basement in Webster. That it's very basic, but it's talking about arrangements, talking about tempos mainly. We'll rarely go through the entire song. We'll try. Sometimes we do if we haven't really played it. We were working on a Broken Chain for a while, where that was, you know, we worked on that one for a long time. China Doll had that same thing where we were going through the whole thing, but a lot of the other songs we're just like, this is how we, you know, with the tempo. We start with tempo, and then we start with the arrangement, and then we try to figure out how to get out of it at the end. So, yeah.
Okay,
that's pretty much how we, you know, and then see how it goes.
Nice.
Beauty about Jake's Leg is that, you know, the honesty of it. If it doesn't work out live, then we should never play it again. And just never.
Do you have like a blacklist of things that you're
you
like,
know,
we
the
don't
one that
play
just made the blacklist is Bread in the Box. You know, ain't no bread in the bed box.
Oh really?
It just and it hit the hamper, and I was just like, I was bummed out because I'm a huge Garcia band fan.
Yeah, I love when Sean Cannon and the Voodoo Players do that for their Jerry Garcia
you know,
band.
Got to be a love of the vamp. You know, the song really goes nowhere. You know, it just hangs on this. You know, it does hang. Yeah. It hangs for a long time. So to stay inspirational on that vamp the whole time is it's more challenging than it sounds. Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys just get bored of it really quickly. It's
You know, it just, like I said, you know, if it doesn't work for all five of us, then it doesn't work. We kind of just ditch it, you know, especially if it's, you know, if one of the guys that's singing it, you know, has a problem with it, then it's definitely done. You know, the vocals are the most important, you know, thing that we think about on the song, who's singing it, and if the person's not enjoying singing it, whoever it is in the band, we don't even question it. We all just suck
Do
it
you
up
ever
and
like
go.
switch singers if someone else doesn't like it, or are you just like?
I don't know if that's ever happened or not. I think it's, you know, they're probably thinking about other songs that they're wanting to bring to the table more than picking up somebody else's idea.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think,
so whoever brings the idea to the band usually turns it.
We picked up. It's been a little minute since we picked up some songs, but it's been just here and there, and then we just dot them in there. And then a lot of time we'll revisit it and rewrite a version of a song. We just rewrote. I can't think of the name. I'll come back to that, but I can't think of the name of the song. But we rewrote it in completely slow and difficult to play, and I've been struggling with it. I'm still working on it. Catfish John, that's the name of the song.
Oh, okay.
So we played this
singing that one recently.
We played this bluegrass up version of it for years, and then we switched to the Garcia version of it, which is way different. Dun, dun, ba, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, ba, dun. It's really
Yeah, I think
way
that's how
different
Sean does it.
than
Sean
Cal
Cannon
Funk
does
in
it
it.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, from going from that, but that's kind of like what we do with the music. We feel something, we can be done with it differently than we do. But when it's not talked about it could be not talked about ever. I mean, I don't know, it's 200 and something songs we have in rotation that we don't talk about 200 of them.
Yeah.
You know, at least you know.
Just talk about the something.
You know, there's like one little tiny part. You know, I remember we clean up songs all the time and eliminate a little accent that sometimes we hit, sometimes we don't hit. You know, it's always little things that probably nobody notices but us a lot of the time. You know.
Yeah, I would probably say so. But I guess that's important to acknowledge when you're the one creating it. You know.
You know, so you love it, and so you take care of it. And if it needs to be addressed, then you address it. And if it doesn't work, then we don't play it. I kind of leave it there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a couple favorite versions of Birdsong. One
right.
was the one that we were just talking about, the Reckoning, the acoustic one. After I heard that, I was just kind of sold, and that's like the only chord I guess I listened to for like weeks on end. And then the other is, you know, Without a Net, that compilation. Yes. So that one is December 9th, 1989 at the Great Western Forum in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful tour.
And the Reckoning one was in 1980, so I guess I like the 80s versions of Birdsong, too.
You know, it's that Reckoning version was very fast, you know, compared to what any version I played. You know, the Without a Net version, we worshipped that album in college. Front to back, we had the cassette.
Yeah, the Eyes of the World.
We had the cassette
on there.
tape.
Yeah,
back in the day. Yeah, of Without a Net. Oh, it's a great story about that album. Is that me and my friend, we left for spring break without any music except for the tape that was in my tape deck, and it was Without a Net.
You just listen to it.
We listened to that whole that same tape over and over again. Yeah, it's easy if he listens.
Like
he'll bear witness to that as a true
something.
story. Looks like Rain. We had it down. We had it memorized.
Nice. Yeah, that one's good. The victim of the crime.
Mm-hmm.
That one goes so hard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those are great versions. You have a good ear.
Yeah, thanks. I did put a 72 one on here just to have like a contrast, and that's the Veneta, Oregon show in 1972. I guess in August. I guess right after they got back from Europe. So.
You know, and Pigpen is. I'm not, accurate with my dates, but he's like probably about near passed away by then when they come back from Europe. The end of Pigpen.
Oh, Pigpen, yeah, for sure.
Gaucho. Garcia cuts that in 71, and then they do a bust out with it. You know what? I have to actually look into, old Garcia band to see if they played the Birdsong way back. I'm sure they did. It's nothing that I've heard with all the Garcia band releases that they've been
Neither
doing.
have I.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't seen like a Jerry Garcia band Birdsong, but I would like to hear what that sounds like. A little more gospel,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was doing some reading on birdsong. I don't know how. This is just like a theory I read online, so I don't know like how resourceful it is. But apparently, birdsong was written right after Janis Joplin died, and it was kind of their send off to her.
Well, that's wonderful. I've not ever done any research on the lyrics side of it.
Me either until this morning. That's kind of why I like doing this podcast. It just gives me a reason to like be weird and look this shit up in my free time.
Well, I've been telling my car to shuffle birdsong, and
nice, okay.
It's got, I don't know how many versions are in my my Apple Music, but a lot, and I listened to the Reckoning version this week. I listened to without that version this week, and then a couple others from like that the Northeast concerts that they were putting on in the 80s. They did a couple good bird songs. Yeah. Good bird song for me for the Dead was, how they attacked the solos coming out, with how we do it, we go right into the keys and then we go from keys right into the guitar, seamless, and it's kind of like Garcia band style. A lot of the Dead would go vocals, keys, vocals, guitar, vocals, they would put some vocals in between the solos where birdsong goes seamlessly from keys to guitar, which I do enjoy that.
Yeah, you can kind of do that with, I guess with the riff, you just like kind of both play it, or the keys and guitar play it, and then kind of tagger it, or like relay racing kind of.
Well, we let Bill, our keyboard player, do his thing as long as he wants. Typically, we have different cues for when you're done with soloing. Each guy has their cue, that everybody recognizes. But we typically do it with dynamics. So we're going to bring the song extremely down to bare ground, and then build it all back up again with the guitar. So whatever guitar key ends, cool. He trickles it down to nothing, and then at the one, then Casper will start up the solo from there, and then we start at a very PMS feel.
Okay.
To build to the triple forte. Yeah.
Nice. I'll look out for that on Saturday. I'm sure you guys do it in like other songs too. But
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's that's what I love about that song as well, is the dynamic approach to it. It's the way it starts and the way it comes down for the verses, the way it comes up for the choruses, comes back down for the verses, and the solos are arranged in that same way. How we play it, I should say. Where we arrange the dynamics of the solos. It starts out very quiet, to end very loud. And then to the transition into the solos, there's no bridge to transition from solo to solos. We just do it with sheer dynamics, just dropping everything down to create a gap for the guitar to open up again. So that's how we do it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sounds like you got it down. No, it makes sense.
That's a beautiful thing about Jake Slade. That's just unspokenly done, a lot.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like in theory too. You're not like, oh, we're gonna like after X amount of bars. Yeah. You just kind of like know when. Right?
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's for us. It's the music is meant to be hung on the edge of messing up.
Yeah.
If you're playing it safe, then you're not playing it right.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
I can't say right, but you should really try to. Play it, not worry about how clean it is, but how it feels.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what has always kind of drawn me to Jerry's style of soloing, where it was so emotional based. It wasn't like he wrote something on paper and he just practiced it 100 times and it's the same every time. Like, it really takes you on like an emotional journey that he is, I think, kind of experiencing.
Oh yeah,
and I am kind of obsessed with it. So
it's okay to be obsessed with Jerry.
Yeah, I don't think I'm alone, really.
I was always fascinated at him never repeating from phrase to phrase to phrase to phrase for endless amounts of phrasing that he could do for like birdsong. He could take birdsong, through the verse sections 8 times and not repeat anything. That's the brilliance of Jerry for me. I think it shows up, I don't know if I'm that good a listener for a guitar player to hear him like repeat something from I don't know, 8 times ago, or
Yeah, it's
16 measures
quite
ago.
truly in the moment, and that's I guess why the shows are so special. In that headspace with the band, and you don't really know how it's gonna go. I feel like the audience kind of can tell when they're having like a weird night. Not even just like Be Dead, but like just like the chemistry between the band.
You know, as my mom said, nobody holds your hand on to get on stage. So you get up there yourself. You're kind of responsible for it. So try to set some of the emotion aside for sake of the people that come to see you. But at the same time, you can only shrug so much of it away from inspiration. If I was out there just playing the same thing over and over again, I definitely wouldn't have been doing it for 18 years.
Yeah, because it would get old. But if
It
you
would be
just
over a
do
long time
something
ago.
different every single time you play,
Yeah.
it keeps it entertaining for you and people who have been seeing the band for 40 years.
Like this weekend, we wrote up the sets about a week ago, I guess. We've been doing that a lot more, writing shows up a week before we play them. And I had a good hand in this one. This weekend will be all Jerry. So they obviously played. Bobby obviously sang, Midland sang, everybody sang a little bit in the band. So it's a mixture of Jerry Garcia Band and Grateful Dead, all Jerry songs this Saturday. It's fun to do that with the music, They got so much different music. We could have an all Bobby night. I played with Sean Cannon. We used to do a Bobby night.
Oh yeah,
it was all Bobby music.
Yeah. Jake and I would go to those in short shorts.
We wore short shorts in the band. Yeah.
Yeah, you totally did. Yeah, that's funny. Does that have I guess that's related to the days between celebration, or is it just kind of okay?
It kind of just worked out this way. We had a couple different people want us to do something around Jerry's birthday, and the closest day we could work out at the park was the 29th. So we went ahead and just took that and said we'd start it then. So we actually start like a couple days before his actual birthday. And then Joe's Cafe on that Thursday, the 3rd, which plays... Yeah, it's like 120 people. I don't know. Have you been in Joe's?
Yeah, I just saw Sean Cannon there last weekend doing crazy ass guitars with acoustic element.
Yeah, very cool. It's a small room, 100 people. We're fortunate that's always already sold out.
Wow, is it that many people? It seems smaller than that, but
100. I think they told us they sell 120 tickets.
Okay,
wow. Yeah. I was surprised too. I've been a minute since I've been to Joe's, but. Then we're just keeping it local, hardcore, to one of our favorite venues on the 4th is Venice Cafe. Jeff,
for sure.
I don't know, Lockheed is just like one of my favorite people in St. Louis.
Yeah,
he's
me
like, he's become such a good friend. And then plays his bar is just kind of, I don't know. I don't even know if you can call that a bar.
Yeah. It's
an installation.
It's like an establishment. Yeah.
And then we're home. We've been a house band at Oyster Bar as long as the Soulard Blues Band. That's about 24 years now. We've been a house band. House band at Bob is pretty much a once a month. John Johnson. We miss John. We miss you, John. He was the owner before the owners, and we love Steve and the new crew as well. But we had like a long relationship with John Johnson. It was just much as friends as it was. Working together. But he called us first every single year for as long as I could remember, and gave us our dates for the whole year before he called a lot of bands, and it was just super special. The Bob still does that for us, even after John. They call us like in October every year and be like, what days do you guys want for the year? And it's just, so we're at the Bob on the 5th, and
cool.
Yeah, home sweet home down there.
Yeah, for sure. That's seriously my favorite room, I think, on the planet.
Yeah.
I've had so many great memories and seen so many amazing artists, including yourself and other St. Louis band. That place is super special, I think, for a lot of people, not just me.
It's hard to, you guys don't remember it, obviously, but there was no stage outside. There used to be a big tree out there.
Yeah,
in
I've
the
heard
middle of the
stories
garden,
of the tree.
and then so the stage was inside. The inside bar. There's a bench that was sitting there now up against the window. That was the stage. The door was still there. And literally the stage was, I don't even know how they did it, but Bill, a keyboard player, would set the keyboards up on the end of the bar. And that was like part of the stage.
Wow.
And Jake's Leg, that's where I saw Jake's Leg play when, before Bob, blew up into a local, venue for all of us,
Yeah.
I love the Bob because all my friends are always down there.
Yeah, you can go any night of the week and really see a great band and also see like a lot of friends.
Jake's Legs, I was responsible for bringing people down to the Bob for many years, and when Cannon fired up the Wednesday nights, that was, too many years in a row. I was down there every Wednesday, whether I was playing or not, because all the musicians were hanging out down there.
For sure.
It might still be the fact, but I try not to go out too much anymore.
Yeah. No, there was a good 2 or 3 years of my life where I was seriously at like every single Wednesday unless I was like sick or something. Now I just choose ones I go to because I wake up super early too. But
we're super lucky to have all these great musicians. You guys playing with you boys, both very good.
Thanks.
Fun to play with. But St. Louis is just saturated with good music, and good musicians. That getting a job here is a big deal to me. When I got hired, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, I got hired. And I kind of took a minute to set in, but then it really didn't set in until 3-4 years later when I realized how many great drummers were watching me, watching me play, that I really started to dig into what we're talking about tonight, into true shuffle work. I'm trying to hone a little bit of my edginess from being a self-taught drummer in respect to all the great musicians I was now had, sometimes out in front of the shows. I'd see these guys that I'd looked up to in drumming, and I was like, I know he knows I'm playing that shuffle wrong. I know he knows it. That's what I'd be saying to myself in my head. So I really took that fuel from all of being so many good musicians around here to really, I got to stay on my game. I really got to keep it up, around here to hang out.
Keeps you on your toes, for sure.
If you want to hang out, you got to put in the work, Yeah.
Keeps making you, I guess, better as an artist, too, because you can't get, complacent, I guess, or...
You try not to be, that's what, like I said, if I wouldn't be doing it for this long if it didn't have an outlet of extreme originality to it. Each time I approach it with Jake's Leg, it's the only thing that's really stayed the same has been my drum set for the last since COVID. I rebuilt my drum set. It's it's built just for Jake's Leg. I don't have to shelve it when I finish playing with the band, but it's that's the only thing that hasn't changed. So I just kind of step into it as a little, I call it my little spaceship, I'm like, and my little Jake's Leg spaceship, and it's like everything's the same, the controls are the same, and I just got to take off each night.
Yeah, the drums and spaceship.
Yeah, it's a little spaceship.
Yeah, it's taking up most of my living room. I'll have B-roll of it set up over here. It looks really cool in here.
Oh, I like that's the only thing I really like. I'm very particular about is my setup and my miking. Dale, my sound man, being there.
The only thing I'm particular about is everything that has to do with what I do.
More or less, how it sounds, of course. But
oh yeah, man. Well, if there's not anything else you'd like to add to Birdsong, I'm pretty stoked to play with Ryan Wilhite from Jake's Leg.
Well, I wanted to tell you thank you so much for having me. You're a super nice guy, and your brother, thank you for all the help and the hospitality here. Let me bring out my big rig into your place here. Thank you so much. I'm just thrilled to do it.
Hell yeah, Ryan. It's been quite the honor, and I'm super stoked that we were able to make this happen on quite a bit short notice, I would say. And before your show on Saturday, too. I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you for taking time out of your life to come and
absolutely
chit-chat and play music with me. It's really cool.
Well, it's like guys like you in St. Louis that make it so much fun. Everybody that's into it, passionate about it, it keeps a lot of musicians working and fuel in their fire to get up on stage all the time. So thank you.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad to be a part of it because I would be quite lost in the music scene or here in St. Louis without people like you guys and Sean.
You're in there, buddy. Look what you're doing. You're in there. You're in there right
now. Hell yeah, man. Well, let's get jamming on some Birdsong. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Hey, thank you for having me.